Hi everyone, so I hope everyone's really well. I'm just at home, I've got like a night off work. And I was just going through my YouTube channel and watching like a few videos, and I've just got the idea from a load of different people. I am sat with Charlie, so he might make a few noises, so I do apologise already because he is tired. So he's probably going to sit on my knee and go to sleep, but just in case you hear any funny noises, it's little Charlie. Anyway, so I was watching a few videos, one by like Soph, Soph Does Nails or Soph Does Life Now, and there's one from like there was another girl, I think it was Soph Louise, who was talking about like mortgages. Then there was somebody else speaking about like how old they are, and then they said something, I can't remember who it was, and anyway she was like, I can't, something about she had to answer a question, so she was doing like a poll thing, and she had like a few questions by some of her fans, and they were asking questions like, have you bought your own house or do you rent it? And she made like a statement, and she was like, I'm only 25 years old, how could I buy my own, like I haven't bought my own house, I couldn't do that in my age. And I was sat thinking, I was like, but why couldn't you? Because I'm 24 now, and 2 years ago I bought my house, obviously not outright, I've got a mortgage. And I just thought like, all my family, obviously my sister, and like my sisters have all had mortgages, but they're all older sisters that I've never had like the conversation about buying mortgages, like buying a house or whatever. And like, I didn't ask for advice off anybody. I sort of said to mum and dad, like, I think I'm ready to move out. It was sort of like a bit of a joke, and like, oh, let's look on Rightmove, let's see what I want. And then it was literally from looking at houses to rent in the area and looking at houses to buy in the area, and then I got the idea of moving out. And what I thought I'd do, there's Charlie now. So what I thought I would do is like a video, and it's just literally about how I came about buying my house, any tips that I can give anybody myself, because obviously I am full-time working, I'm at university, but all my bills in this house is paid by me. It's not paid by anybody else. My partner comes and stays over. Sorry, that was the dragon. It worried me there. I was thinking, oh my god, what's going on? Dragon. The bearded dragon Stitch. Anyway, and I was like, when you hear people saying things about like, oh, they couldn't afford a mortgage, and I think, but actually, like, how can you afford rent if you can't afford a mortgage? And I'll explain that in a minute. So I will go into details with numbers and stuff because I can, because I don't need to worry about anything else. I know what I can afford and what I'm doing. So as I was saying, I was at home with mum and dad, and I was on the internet, and I've always been quite like mature. I've always had a job since being very young. I've gone out to like, I went from school from 2007 to 12, went straight into post 16, went to college, did a health and social care course, knew after the first year it wasn't for me, went to do a course for childcare. Then I went to university, dropped out after a year because of my mental health. Went back, I'm now on my level 6, so everything's always sort of been off my back. Nobody's ever said to me, right, what are you doing now? I've always had a plan and I've always done something. And I think I got to the point where I was living at home, and I don't know what made me think of it. It just, I was so ready, and I was like, if I don't move out now, when am I going to move out? And I got to the point and I was just like, that's it, I'm going to start looking for houses. I didn't have the intention of moving out there and then. I had the intention of moving out, but I always thought when you move out with your partner, but that's not always the case nowadays. Like, it's not, you don't get married and then move out. It's not that type of thing anymore. You move out when you're ready. So I was sat downstairs with my mum and dad, and I was on like Rightmove and all them type of like websites you go on to look for your house. And we were looking at renting, and I was like, these are £400 a month. Now, to people that might watch this video who might live in, say, London, that might sound like absolutely nothing, but when the wage is different here, and like when things cost differently here, it weighs up in different areas. So £400 to £450 was a little bit like, it's on the cheap scale, but to me it's still expensive when you're looking at my monthly income, if that makes any sense. Because my monthly income's like, was at the time, £1,100 a month. So if you're going to pay out, say, 400, 450, you're only looking at about 700 left, and you've got like your council tax and everything to pay for. So I was like, that's not going to work for me. Like, that is a lot of money. And if I was to rent, I would one day want to buy. And I was like, then I would never have savings, and it's something I wouldn't have. So I was sort of like looking up and I was like, right, so that's all right, that's £400, that's £400. And then I got into the idea and I was like, let's look at houses to buy. Let's just look. And this house was the first house I looked at. It was so weird. I had like a tab of 10 houses at the top. And I was like, sure, my mum and dad went through pictures, and then so what I'd do is I'll show the pictures, and then that would like bring houses down. So if I looked at the kitchen, if I looked at the kitchen and it wasn't for me, then it wasn't for me. I was quite set on like how I like things. I didn't want to buy a house. If I was to buy one, on your side, I didn't want to buy a house that would have a lot of work to do to it. So Charlie. So the idea was to get a house that didn't have a lot to do with it, have a lot to do to it, because obviously I didn't have savings, I didn't have a budget, sort of thing. It was sort of just an idea. So this was one, because the kitchen was done when I first moved, the bathroom was done when I first moved, I had new carpet in, it came with a big TV, which I can probably just quickly show you. So that's the TV. It came, which I was just straight away like, oh my god. Then the American style fridge freezer, that type of thing. So it literally came with everything. There was another 3 houses, and I was like, I'm gonna look at these houses. One of them had a massive like a farmhouse kitchen. It was huge, and I was like, that would be amazing. But then there was other things that didn't work so well with it. Like for example, if it was, I don't know, a house on a row, and I knew the history of the area. So that's what I did. I sort of looked at the area, looked at the house, looked at what was inside the house, looked at what would need doing, and if it was in my range for what I could do. If it needed a lick of paint, then fair dues, like that's something that could be done one day. But if it was no carpeted, nothing like that, it was sort of like, it's something I couldn't leave like to buy and then do another day. It was something I really wanted to be done. So I came to view the house. Is that what I did first? Yeah, so I got in touch with a company from the council, went to view a house in a place called Grangetown near Redcar, and so that's one of the areas that I live near, and my partner's from Grangetown, so yeah, it's not the nicest place to live, but to be honest with you, the area where I was looking at was quite quiet for Grangetown. So I went to the house, and it's a good job I took my dad with me, because what are you doing? On the pictures, the house looked lovely. When you got into the house was full of mould, full of cracks in the ceilings and stuff. But I never would have looked at things like that. I would have been like, oh, that's fine, and it wasn't. So it's a good job my dad came with me, or else I wouldn't have had an idea. Anyway, I got a call from the estate agents, and they said, oh, the house that you've clicked to like have a viewing of, would you be interested in viewing? And the man will meet you there. And I was like, oh, when could I go? And he was like, now, if you want to go now, he's there. So I was like, that would be brilliant. Came to the house, and I mean, I was in love with it. Charlie came with me, and my dad came with me. And the reason I brought Charlie is I just wanted Charlie to be like, because he's going to be a big part of my life and the house. I felt like, I know it sounds stupid, but I wanted him to feel like happy and him to be a part of the decision, which was really weird. But when he came in, he was like a bit wary of the new surroundings, but he was like running all over. He loved it, he really did. Anyway, when we came in, obviously the house was empty. It had a few sofas in. And I met the man who owned it before, and the house was just lovely. So within 20 minutes of being in the house, I literally rang the estate agents and put an offer in. So the house was on offer for 75,000. But when I got here, I was just like, I love the house, and I was like, is there any way you could do it any cheaper? Because the cheaper it was, the better chance of me getting a mortgage was, if that makes sense. Not that I wanted to do them out of any money, but if things did need doing and you needed your own touching to buy things, obviously I didn't want to have to like overspend too much on my deposit, so the less the money, like, it would be better. So I got the house in the end for 72,500. So that was brilliant, because obviously, like I said, I had a new kitchen and bathroom, carpeted, laminated, TV, fridge, freezer, cooker, washer. Like, literally, you can't even, like, there was not one big thing to buy. Not one big thing, other than obviously a bed, and that was it. But I had a bed. So anyway, we put an offer in. Then the mortgage provider got in touch and said that they needed a 5% deposit. So that was, I think, around the price of 4,000. Now, if anybody wants to get a mortgage and doesn't know, you have to pay, I think it's 5 or 10% of whatever the price of the house is. So for example, mine was 72,500, so it was 5% of that you have to pay as a deposit. Whereas apparently when I spoke to my sister said she had to pay 10 or 20 or whatever it was. She had to pay a lot more than I did, but she's in York, so it's so different to here. Things can change depending on the house price, lots of different varies of things. So that set me like straight away with quite a good deal. However, I at the time didn't have the money, so there was ways in which I did more hours at work. I borrowed money from family that I knew I could pay them straight back. So my family came together and we got the money. Then I had to go to a solicitor and a broker. So through the agency where I bought the house, they had a broker, and he then went through what mortgage I could go through. He obviously went through all the paperwork, whatever's what, and then give me a good idea of who was a good solicitor to go to. So the solicitor that I went to was somebody local, but that cost £500. So really I was just like, oh my god, I didn't realise you had to pay all this to buy a house. So your solicitor goes through sort of like, you're going to own the property, you're going to own the land, you have to go through like the registered keepings, you have to go through gas checks. Anything in this house needs to be signed then over to me, because you have to then have everything straight into your name. So there was like a part of it where they did like a gas check to see if there was any sort of risk to myself or the house. There was things done about the land registry. I don't even have anything next to me that I could sort of show you, but in like, it went through everything from the point of like boiler checks, has he got was the references and receipts, windows being changed, is the references, receipts, everything down to a T the solicitor sorts out for you, which was absolutely amazing. But it was so annoying because I think I had to go to the like solicitor 7 or 8 times with loads of different information. Then I had to go back to the agent, what do you call it, estate agents, and go through paperwork with them. So it was quite a lengthy time. I think we signed, like all together we sorted things out, started in May, and I had the keys, I think it was one of the first weeks in September. So it took quite a long time for me to get the mortgage. However, I would say if it's something that, so if I was to give people some tips on my own like ideas, what I would do is, if you're looking for a mortgage, don't jump straight into the first house you see. Like for me, I did, and that was a problem because I didn't know what I was jumping into. And yeah, there's been problems since moving in the house. For example, the roof hasn't got the insulation in, which I think is crazy. And now because of that we have mould upstairs, so upstairs has to be re-sorted out, like the walls, the ceiling, it's ridiculous. And things like that should have been done but weren't done, and that's something I should have checked. Through your solicitor you also have a surveyor, so your surveyor comes in, you pay the surveyor, and they come in and look at the house and give you an estimation of what you should be paying, what sort of condition the house is in from their point of view. Anyway, I could have a really weird feeling in my mouth. I've got like a wisdom tooth growing through here, and it's just sort of like crunched. That really hurt. So anyway, oh god, I've got a right, and all the top of my mouth is really swollen as well, sorry. So yeah, so the surveyor comes in, goes through the house, goes through everything, decide, like they sort of have like they can say yes or no to you moving in, sort of like whether it's like health and safety, like whether it's safe for you to move in, whether things need doing. If they need doing, then it goes to the person who's selling the house, which then can leave you like stranded for so long. Like there was something that needed doing and I can't think what it was, and he had to pay for it to be done. I can't remember what it was though, and it's something that he had to do. Even though it was something like £15, it was something that went on him, and if he didn't do it, it would have been a longer process because my solicitor wanted it done. which was really annoying because just say there was something that was needed, for example, like a form, and it was something I couldn't even care less about, like the windows, if there was a receipt for the windows. I couldn't care less about a receipt for a window, I'm not going to take it back. But they wanted it, so I had to wait for it, which was like a 2-week thing because his solicitor was on holiday. It's so like lengthy, it's unbelievable. But anyway, tips for moving out. If you've got this idea in your head that you want to move out, explore ideas of where you want to live. Look at like, have sort of like an idea of what you want for when you move in. Have you got like money put away for new things in your house? Have you got a deposit? If you haven't got a deposit, start looking at saving for your deposit because that would help you out so much. Save at least £500 for your solicitor, and obviously like try and get a broker if you can rather than doing it on your own. It is the best thing I've ever done is get like the broker, because I had no one in the family who knew sort of what they were doing, so I had no one who could say this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, that type of thing. I also, and I don't know if anybody else is like this, so I sort of knew from the Christmas before I was going to be moving out sort of quite soon. So when it came to Christmas and people were saying sort of like, what do you sort of want? I asked for little things for Christmas. So like I was bought like little things like mug sets, plate sets, things that like you can put towards a house. So I went to Asda and they had like a home and living thing on. So I bought like loads of things and put like a box together. Now if anybody's sort of like me and wants to be a bit organised, that massively helped me when I moved into this house. The reason that being is obviously then I didn't have a lot of money to spend out because I never had money behind me. So when it came to like wages every month, I'd say spend £50 a month that I had left over, or put £50 aside and buy something. So I've never really needed anything since moving in like 2 years ago. I've obviously bought little bits and decorated the house, but I've never essentially needed anything and thought, oh my god, I can't live without that. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I can sort of give people tips wise, because I just feel like it's massively important, because I think when I was younger I used to think, oh, I'm going to move out, I'll be fine, but I'm never prepared for any of this. And at 24 now, I've got a house and a mortgage, yeah, and I've sort of like not really thought of it. And when I tell people, oh yeah, like I'm at uni, I work 4 days a week, I've got my own house, got my own car, people are like, how have you done that? But I don't feel like it was such a big thing because I prepared myself, like I was so ready for it to happen. And I did a lot of like, I don't know, I'm quite organisational, like I had books full of like what I need to do. So if anybody wanted any sort of like information or I can help anybody, do comment underneath or inbox, like message me. And if I can help at all, like obviously I can't help with like any sort of information on mortgages or anything, like I'm not a broker myself, but if there's anything I can help with like finding things, do comment because I'm more than happy to help. Yeah, and then literally the only thing I've sort of missed out is sort of like what I did when I moved in, but the simple things that are just common sense. So like when I knew I was moving in, I'd contact the council, start looking for like TV services, water supplies. It's like literally there was so much that I had to do, but when you prepare yourself, it all falls into place. If there's anybody that has any like concerns or is considering moving out, is just like, I don't know where to start from the bottom. So think about a house, start looking like at what your budget is, work it out. Like there's like a monthly thing online, so you can sort of work out what you're going to be paying every month. So you might say go on Virgin Media and have a look and see what bundles they got, have a look at what I don't know, just say pick an area. So just say you might pick Middlesbrough if you're from Middlesbrough, and look at what the council tax rates are there roughly. Look at roughly, you could ask your parents if you live with parents, or ask somebody who you know is like, if you're moving in as a couple, what roughly they pay for their house, like for the gas and electric. Start doing like a little spreadsheet and looking at like what your monthly outgoings are going to be and if it's something you can afford. And then you've sort of looked at what chances are. God. And then, you know, whether you want to go down the route of mortgaging or not. What I didn't also say is, which I've missed out a massive chunk, so obviously the house was 72,500 and I paid a £4,000 deposit, so I think it was 68,000 in the end. My mortgage monthly, so I was looking at £400 to £450 renting, my mortgage monthly is just under £300. So really, if I was to do a renting, I've saved, no, I would have like lost out on £100 a month if I bought my house. So I just can't see how anybody can say, if you can get your deposit together, if you can do these things, I can't see how people can't do the mortgage side of things. Obviously, I'm not being snobby, I'm not trying to like, this isn't a video to brag or boast, I'm literally trying to make people realise that you can do it. Just because it sounds like a big thing, like, oh, having a mortgage and buy your own house, you can't do it. Why can't you? Because if I can do it, it's like somebody who pays just bills, who lives on my own, who has a job 4 days a week and 2 days uni, and I can still do it. I think anybody can. I've got a lot of friends who rent the houses, and I've always said to them, why do you rent? And then afterwards, like, as if you only pay that. It's because I think people go straight into renting because it's cheaper. They think it's cheaper, but it's really not. So really, I hope everyone's well, and I hope this has given anyone any help. I didn't do this video, as I say, to boast or make people think like you're snob, like because you bought your own house you think you're somewhere. Honestly, it's literally not that. It's to give people the awareness of how much it is into buying a house, but how much better off you are, because then you've got yourself on the property market of like having your own house. And if it doesn't work for you and you don't want to live in a house that you've mortgaged, there's the route of renting it out if you don't want to. If you go away and you want to go travelling, you can rent it out for so long. There's so many different ways down you can go with buying a house. So I really hope everyone's well, and I just thought I would do the video to inform anyone and anything they don't already know. So yeah, I'm going to go anyway, but I'll upload this video now, and I hope, as I said, this helps somebody. If there's any comments, anything, just do comment underneath, because I'm more than happy to help people out. Thank you.